The Supreme Court delivering a major blow to President Biden's clean energy agenda yesterday, limiting the Environmental Protection Agency's ability to implement sweeping regulations without congressional approval. Meantime, Biden keeps blaming Putin for sky-high gas prices. Listen.
The bottom line is, ultimately, the reason why gas prices are up is because of Russia. Russia. The reason why the food crisis exists is because of Russia. Russia not allowing grain to get out of Ukraine.
Biden also said yesterday he will not directly ask Saudi Arabia's leadership to increase oil production when he makes a trip to the country next month. Joining me now, Georgia Congressman Buddy Carter. He's a member of the Energy and Commerce and Budget Committees. Congressman, your reaction first to the Supreme Court ruling on the EPA. How does that change the climate agenda out of this White House?
Well, this is a good thing, and the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of Americans, in favor of constituents, and that is important because one of the biggest problems we're facing right now with this inflation is overregulation. That's part of the solution. That's part of how we can get out of this. If we could just simply relieve ourselves of some of these regulations, and that's what the Supreme Court has done, saying that they have to go through Congress. So instead of this administration pushing their Green New Deal agenda, trying to make prices higher, and they are enjoying this. This was by design to have higher gas prices because they want to convert to EVs and other things. Well, not everybody's got $50,000 or $60,000 to afford an EV. So this is part of the solution here, what the Supreme Court has done, and I applaud them for doing that.
Liz Peek, jump in here. There's much written in the editorial pages of the Wall Street Journal today from the editorial board, from Kim Strassel. There's another editorial from Mario Loyola and Eric Groton. On this note, the editorial board writes that this is merely the EPA setting guardrails on the administrative state, like cracking down as they did on OSHA and its vaccine mandate, saying no to that, cracking down on the CDC, which put in a eviction moratorium, which, again, SCOTUS said no to that. Even the Chief Justice wrote about those decisions as well in his majority opinion on the EPA overreach.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
Liz, go ahead.
All right.
Jump in here.
No, I was going to say this has to do with separation of powers and the fact that Congress really needs to do its job and regulate legislation as opposed to just hand off authority to all these alphabet agencies and allow them basically to change the way the country works. My question of the congressman would be, is there going forward, what are we going to look at in terms of environmental bills? Because Congress, I'm sure the Democrats are going to want to further the climate agenda. Is there any hope or chance that they're going to get some kind of bill through that's going to do what the Clean Power Plan was meant to do, basically renewables and end fossil fuels, or is that just dead on arrival, I hope?
Yeah, and I would agree. I think it's dead on arrival. First of all, keep in mind two things. First of all, I could not agree more with your point about the separation of powers and how Congress over time, the legislative branch has deferred too much authority to the executive branch, both in the Republican presidencies and Democratic presidency. We need to take some of that back. But specifically to your question about the environmental policies and bills that might pass, keep in mind that the clock is ticking. We don't have very many days left in this session. And with this Democratic majority, I'm not sure they're going to have time to push something like this through. That'll be a good thing because I'm very confident we're going to be able to take over the majority in the Republican Party next session.
Congressman, moving to the crisis at our southern border, there were 4 illegal migrants at least killed by a smuggler in a car crash yesterday in Texas, after 53 migrants were found dead in an abandoned tractor trailer earlier this week. The latest Fox News op-ed that you have written addresses the border, and you write, fix Biden's border crisis by building the wall. Is there the political will to do that in D.C.?
I think there is under Republican leadership. Now, obviously, the Democrats want to ignore this. This is one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world, happening right at our southern border. You know, security, border security is national security, and we don't have national security right now because our border is not secure. I've been down there 5 times since I've been in office, 3 times in the last year and a half. Every time it gets worse. It is in shambles. And all the Border Patrol agents tell us the same thing. Build the wall, keep Title 42, keep remain in Mexico.
Congressman Buddy Carter, have a fabulous 4th of July weekend. Thank you so much for being here, always.
Thank you.
Stay cool, which means if you're in Georgia, stay indoors.
Yes.
I know it well. Congressman, thank you.